Hey, honey,
Yes, Barry?
let's get out of here.
Where are we going?
Where do we always go?
Fascina el viento, este ritmo de palmas, sin mi naturaleza, hasta encontrar la playa. Por eso grito al mundo, yo soy de Puerto Vallarta. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de amor junto al
Hello,
mar.
fellow travelers, and welcome to this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. I am your host, Barry Kessler, and I'm just so happy to be introducing you to my favorite vacation destination. Maybe it's even yours, and that's Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. That music you're just listening to is performed by Alberto Perez, and he is the owner of the Lapa Lapa group of restaurants here in Puerto Vallarta. Those are the Lapa Lapa, the El Dorado restaurant, and at night, for dinner, the El Dorado transforms into the ever-so-romantic Vista Grill with those dramatic views of the Los Muertos Pier all lit up at night in beautiful colors. And I was at Lapa Lapa just the other day and had an interview with Sophia Botner over there, and we talked about, among other things, Lapa Lapa and all of those restaurants, as well as a property that I was interested in Puerto Vallarta called La Troza. And so we sat there with our toes in the sand, right at the water's edge. It was just so Puerto Vallarta, my friends. And so I'm going to bring you that episode and that discussion in just a couple weeks. So stay tuned for that. This week, I have a really special guest. His name is Licencia Felix Zarate. And Felix is my friend, and he is my Mexican attorney. And he is with Zarate and Law Associates here in Puerto Vallarta. And we're going to be talking about, among other things, immigration, but not to the United States or Canada. We are going to be talking about immigrating to Mexico. But first, let's see what's happening in Puerto Vallarta this week, the 15th of November, 2017. It seems that craft beer is making a splash in paradise lately, with several in Puerto Vallarta proper, and many along the bay are popping up. We spoke with one local brew pub, if you remember. We talked with Reed and Miranda at Monzon Brewing Company. That was a few episodes back when we also talked with the owners of Lix and Chacudiva. Well, as I mentioned last week, there is a craft beer festival, and it's planned for this weekend. And I told you that I'd be bringing on my buddy Edgar Cisneros to talk a little bit about what's going on there. So let's go to Puerto Vallarta right now and hear from mi amigo Edgar Cisneros. All right, we are joined by Edgar Cisneros. Hey, Edgar, thanks for coming on. How you doing?
Gary, how's everything going?
Everything.
Thanks for the invitation and the time.
Yeah, no worries. So you're going to be having this craft beer festival that's very exciting for Puerto Vallarta. Tell us, do you know how many craft beer makers there are in Puerto Vallarta?
In the Bay, you can find now from Sayulita, Bucerias, and of course Puerto Vallarta. And I think at this moment we talk like 12. I think there's 12 craft beer companies here in Vallarta. They just starting some of them, and some others they have some more years, no? Like Los Muertos is one of the breweries who's coming this festival.
Okay.
And not also from the bay, because I don't know if you guys know San Sebastián del Oeste, this little town in the mountain.
Yeah.
Well, we have one guest coming from there. Actually, it's a new brewery in San Sebastián, and they are coming also. So we have from the bay and also from around Guadalajara with Minerva. And there's the Beer Box Prime. It's one of the sponsors. They are coming with Ensamble, which is a craft beer from Puebla, the state from the center of the country. So it's going to be very interesting, the mix we're going to have, because it's local, the local producers, the local flavors, and of course some other special from states around the country.
Right. And all Mexican beers. So you said that Beer Box, there's a place called Beer Box Prime over in the marina. Are they related?
Yeah, actually they are part of the sponsors, and they are coming as like the restaurant. They come as the restaurant to sell the beer. They have the house beer, let's say, because they have their own beer actually.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the one I told you, Ensamble? And they also have some other interesting Mexican beers they are going to bring to the festival. So that's the main idea from the festival, to have the Mexican craft beer, and of course the local that we can involve this time, because from these 12, there's around the way we have maybe like 6 who's going to be on the festival. Some others they can because of time, some the distance, of course. But at this time, for example, we have Jambak Brewing Co. They are from Sayulita, actually. Los Cuentos, here from Vallarta. Los Muertos Brewing Co. They are from here. They a long time already in Vallarta. Minerva, Cerveza Minerva from Guadalajara. We have also from San Sebastián del Oeste, Cervecería Nebulosa. And we have a special guest also. It's Euro Cervezas. This is a company who have a German craft beer, and they will be also part of the festival. So they will bring a German craft beer.
Mm-hmm.
It will be interesting also. So along with all this, with all the sponsors, we're gonna have around like 30, I think a little bit more than 30 different kind of beers.
Wow, that's a lot.
See, between all these 6, they are coming, so we're gonna have around 30, I think. And also, other than this, we're gonna have the food zone. So that's good, because you have the chance to try at least 30 different kind of beers, and with the time, of course, to enjoy some of the food we're gonna have. And some of we have, of course, some local food with the I don't know, the burritos de Marlin,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we're gonna have some of that. We're gonna have tacos árabes, which is like with pan pita,
Nice.
like Mexican kebab, let's say. Baguettes, also chapatas, pizza from Los Muertos Brewing. Also, they are coming with the beer and the pizza.
Cool.
Very famous, yeah. So all these things we're gonna have, and some music during the festival, and the art gallery, some activities.
Okay, so tell me about this art gallery. What's going on with that?
In the Cuale Island, there's an art gallery, and we're working with the artists from there. And in this time, we are doing a contest in the social media.
Mm-hmm.
So there's local artists around the bay they are doing art pieces, and all these pieces are with the beer concept, something related with the festival, no?
Something that has to do with hops and beer and drinking and
exactly
good times,
all the
right?
atmosphere there's around to drink a beer, let's say, no?
Yeah.
These artists will be at the festival and will be showing in the art exhibition. So all the weekend, so the people can come up to the art gallery and take a look what they did. And in the official fan page in Facebook, we're gonna have the votes. So we're going to have actually next week the official album in Facebook, and from that the people can go and take a look and click and like on the picture. So we're gonna have like cash prizes for the number for the first and the second place, and also the certificates and some other things from the sponsors. So it's going to be interesting because the idea from this was to include the artists, so all these young people who's starting also in this area, and want to do something with this thing because they have the space and all the facilities. So it's a good thing to match, no, with the idea.
Yes. So tell us about the space. It's going to be on Cuale Island, right? So tell me how people would find that.
Well, you have to go to the in the bridge right where is the Cuale Island, and it's on the side to the mountain.
Right.
That way
So
where
the south the on the that would be the northbound bridge, the old bridge.
see where this restaurant used to be, Le Bistro.
Yep. Yes. Exactly. So
We're
not
just
too,
right there.
so you guys not too far. It's like right across from Encanto, and right there where Le Bistro is right across the river there, and that is Cuale Island. And so you would go ahead and walk down there and into that island area. So it sounds like you're using that whole area. You're going to have food. You're going to have drink. You're going to have art. It sounds really great. What is it going to be costing? What does it cost to participate, to eat, let's say, or to drink, or does everybody have their own like price? Do you or is there like one fixed price?
No, the idea is like free access to the island. So then you can take a look, walk around in all the stands we're gonna have, and from that you choose each of the companies that are coming. They have their own prices. So you will find beers starting, I think, in 40 pesos. That's like $250, let's say.
Correct. Yeah,
So
very reasonable. Very reasonable to just walk around and sample beers, local and then of course Mexican produced beers.
see, and the flavor from here and from Puerto Vallarta, because that's main of the essence of the festival, not to have the local companies. They are in this area from the craft beer now, who are in the bay.
Yeah,
And some of the special guests from the country, no? They have a lot in the north.
sure.
So
Yeah, it'll be
with
neat. It'll be neat having those people from San Sebastian too. Give us the dates for the event.
okay, the festival will be in November 18 and 19. It's a Saturday and Sunday. And we start both days from 2 o'clock until 10 p.m. So we have all the afternoon, the evening. So then you can come up to have lunch. We're going to have live music shows, some other activities. Some during all the day you can have, and we're going to have also like raffles. We're going to be doing raffles and selling some tickets. And the winners, of course, will have craft beer from the sponsors, some gift certificates from the restaurants. And with the tickets, we're going to, with all the money we collect, let's say from that tickets, we're going to use it to, what is like the cultural center.
Oh, nice.
To rebuild the facilities and all the few things they need, every year, like maintenance.
Oh, yeah.
So
good. Yeah. So it's a big group effort, and on top of that, you're helping out the cultural center, which is great, and it's right there on Cuale Island too. So very nice. Good for you guys. So what else you got planned? When's the next festival?
We start actually the new year. We start in January. We're gonna have the Ceviche and Aguachile Festival. It's already the 5th edition of this festival, and this time is going to be Friday, the 26th of January. And it's going to be in the same place, the Lázaro Cárdenas Park, right there in Old Town area. So for this year, we're going to have some new restaurants. They are coming with some new flavors and these things they're doing with the seafood, the ceviches.
Edgar Cisneros, thank you so much for coming on the show with me today. We'll see you in January, okay? And good luck with this craft beer festival. It sounds like a lot of fun.
We see you here soon.
Very good. Thanks, Edgar.
Thanks to you. Bye.
All right. Well, like Edgar said, there is so much happening in the local Mexican craft beer world today, I gotta say. And at this festival, there's going to be, as Edgar was saying, there's going to be Manzon. There's Los Muertos Brewery right here, both of them right here in Puerto Vallarta. There's Cerveceria Yambach from Sayulita. They're going to be there. Cerveceria Nebulosa from Brazil will be there, as he said. Cerveceria Los Cuentos, also in Puerto Vallarta. Beer Box Prime from Puebla will be there. Cerveza Minerva from Guadalajara will be there. And Euro Cervezas from Mexico City. All of these great breweries are going to be right there on the Cuale Island. And they're going to bring different varieties of what they are brewing up. And don't forget, there's going to be tacos, there's going to be food, there's going to be that cool art exhibit that will feature basically a beer theme. And all of the funds that are raised there are, like he said, going to benefit the cultural center right there on Cuale Island. So make sure, if you're in town, get out there and check out these great craft beers. And I have links to all of their Facebook pages in the show notes for this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. So check them out. Go over there and see what they're doing. Like their pages over on Facebook, okay? Last week, I was telling you about an email that I got from listener Skip. And Skip, I have a long show. So I'm just going to answer one of your questions here. It's a pretty long answer to the question, really, but I think it's something that everybody wants to know about, and it has to do with buses and transportation. So Skip's question went like this: your podcasts have given me a huge list of options for dining, most of them in the Zona Romantica. And they are going to be staying in Nueva Vallarta, he says. He says it was a trade-off for a great 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom oceanfront condo on Airbnb, so that's what he went for. He's smart, but he's got a long way to go if he's going to be up in Nuevo, and he wants to be coming down to the romantic zone, right? He says, on day one, I plan to figure out the bus system from Nuevo to Walmart in Puerto Vallarta, thanks to JR. And then he asks, can a person walk to the romantic zone from Walmart? He says, I've been to the Malecon and to the cathedral, but have never yet seen the Los Muertos Pier. Oh, cool. It seems that most of what I want to see and do is on Basilio Vidillo or Lázaro Cárdenas or nearby. Well, that's right, because that's kind of what I talk about. So you are absolutely right there, Skip. All right, so this is a good opportunity to review the bus system about getting around in Puerto Vallarta and getting from Puerto Vallarta and to Nuevo Vallarta and back and forth, okay? So let's just do that real quickly. First of all, let's talk a little bit about just a couple of tips, just a reminder that each bus fare is a one-time kind of a bus fare. You know, it's not like there's no transfers, there's no round trips, there's none of that stuff. Before the bus gets to the bus stop, make sure you have your correct change, if you can, ready for the driver. Remember, the driver will make change for you, but don't make it difficult. See if you've got the correct change. Usually the two seats that are behind the driver are reserved for the elderly and physically handicapped. Make sure that you kind of leave those open. Sometimes they're not marked, sometimes they are. When you are getting on, and let's say that you're getting on as a couple, and it's a male-female situation here. It's just customary for the lady to get on first, and then for the man to get on behind her and pay for the two of them. That's just how it's done in Mexico. And when you're traveling with a group, or maybe some friends or family, it's customary for everyone in your group to get on board real quick, and then the last male in the group will pay for everybody in the group, okay? It basically shows courtesy to the passengers that are behind you. It gets people on and off the bus a lot quicker, and it will be very appreciated. And remember, they're going to give you a little ticket that will show that you've paid, and that ticket is so that when sometimes an inspector might get on the bus and check to make sure that he's giving you a ticket. So make sure that you do that. Those are just tips for getting on the bus, okay? Now, if you're coming from Nueva Vallarta to downtown Puerto Vallarta, this is for you, Skip. The total bus fare is going to cost you 22.5 pesos. And you're going to take an ATM bus to Puerto Vallarta. Now, the bus fare for the ATM is going to be 15 pesos. And that bus comes by every 20 or 30 minutes in Nueva Vallarta. So get ready for a long wait. Sometimes you might have to. You're going to get off the ATM bus in Puerto Vallarta once you reach the Maritime Terminal, which is across the street from Walmart and Sam's Club. And on that same side of the street, opposite Walmart, like I was talking about, you're going to wait for a bus that says Centro written on the windshield, okay? Now, there are buses that say Centro, and then there are buses that say Centro and Tunel. Don't get on one that says Centro and Tunel, because it will, as we discussed before in our episode where we talk about taking buses, public buses in Puerto Vallarta, that bus will take you on that magical mystery tour. It'll end up eventually downtown in the romantic zone, but it's going to take a long time for it to show up. So make sure you just get the one that says Centro on it, okay? And basically that's it. That bus fare is going to run you 7.5 pesos. So once again, 15 pesos for the ATM bus, 7.5 pesos for that bus that's going to take you from the Maritime Terminal, or that terminal that's right in front of Sam's Club and Walmart, all the way down to downtown Puerto Vallarta. That's 7.5 pesos. So your total, like I said, 22.5 pesos. Okay, so now when you want to get back to Nueva Vallarta, again, it's going to cost you 22.5 pesos. From the Malecon area there, you're going to head east. You're going to walk a couple blocks up until you see until you see a bunch of buses zooming by, right? And you're going to look for a blue sign. It's a little blue bus stop sign, okay? And you're going to take any bus that's heading north that has Walmart written on the windshield. Like I said before, the bus fare for that is going to be 7.5 pesos. You're going to get off at Walmart, and then you're going to notice that there's two waiting areas there for buses. Facing Walmart and the Sam's Club, walk to the larger bus waiting area on the left. And there's usually some guy there with a clipboard standing there, directing passengers to get on the right bus. And you're going to be looking again for the ATM bus that says Nuevo Vallarta for southern Nuevo Vallarta, or Riu for locations in Flamingos in northern Nuevo Vallarta. Now, the Flamingos section of Nuevo Vallarta includes places like Villa La Estancia, and that's on the northern end, and it goes all the way down on the southern end to the Peninsula condominium complex there. Now, if you're heading to the Flamingos area, it's really important to know that the bus indicating Nuevo Vallarta does not, I repeat, does not go to the Flamingos section of the neighborhood. To get to resorts and condos in the Flamingos, you must take the bus that indicates Riu on the front windshield. And the bus fare for that is 15 pesos. And the last buses that are available to Nuevo Vallarta and the Flamingos area leave by 9 p.m. So if you are going to go leave later than that, it's taxi time, guys. All right, now I will have all of this stuff, links for all of this information and more, including getting around anywhere in Puerto Vallarta on the bus, in my show notes for this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. So make sure you take a look and check that out. So hopefully, Skip, that will get you there. The answer to your question as to whether or not you can walk from Walmart to downtown or to the Romantic Zone, you can, buddy, but I wouldn't do it, dude. It's a long walk. Take a bus, 7.5 pesos, and you can do it, Skip. And thanks, by the way, for your questions. I have more answers to all of your questions coming up next week, I promise. And also, I got to say that Skip was kind enough to send me his pick for one of the 10 most unusual things that a person should try to do when they're in Puerto Vallarta. Remember that? I asked people for those, and he sent me one. It's really good. And so, anyway, come on and send me your ideas. And it's really easy to do. You just go to my website, you click on the Contact Us tab at the top of the page, and send us a message. So thank you, Skip. Skip understands, what this podcast is all about. So write me, you guys. All right, let's get to our guest. We hear all the time about how Mexicans can't wait to get out of Mexico and move north. But how often do you hear about North Americans, more precisely, U.S. citizens and Canadians, wanting to move or at least become temporary or permanent residents of Mexico? Well, according to the census information that I picked up on the interwebs, there are over 1 million American U.S. citizens living in Mexico and over 125,000 Canadians, at least part of the year, living in Mexico. So, believe it or not, some of the Americans and Canadians are in Mexico illegally. Imagine that. It's pretty funny. Anyway, I got this email from a listener, and she wanted to hear about the process of obtaining temporary residency. Remember, we talked about that a couple of shows back, and I told her that I would have my favorite attorney in Puerto Vallarta come on board here and talk a little bit about what's going on today with immigration to Mexico. So I called my buddy, Licencia Felix Zarate. He is my favorite Mexican attorney, and he agreed to come on the show and talk a little bit about the immigration process. He invited me to his condo in Vallarta, and so let's go there right now and talk with Felix. I'm here with Felix Zarate, Licencia Felix Zarate. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me, Barry.
Felix, I have listeners who are interested in the process of residency. I've got Canadians, I've got Americans, and they just want to understand what is involved in getting your residency here in Mexico. So, first of all, I know that when you get here, when you fly into Puerto Vallarta or when you fly into Mexico or whatever, you come in with a tourist visa, right? And that's good for like 6 months, right?
It's correct. It's 180 days tourist visa.
Okay. So after that 6 months is up, what happens?
Before it expires, you have to leave the country.
Okay. So what happens if you stay too long?
Well, that could be a serious problem with immigration. Now they are enforcing the immigration laws more. They're more strict. So you don't have to go through these problems. Just leave the country and do it legally. If you want to come back to Mexico, apply for another tourist card or apply for temporary or permanent residency.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Now, if you wanted to get temporary residency here, first of all, why would somebody want to get temporary residency?
There are different reasons why Canadians or Americans want to come to Mexico and stay for longer than 180 days.
Right.
Right. That's the key. Well, the benefits of having your temporary residency is that you can open a business in Mexico. Okay, you can stay, you can do other activities in Mexico as well as a resident. You will be considered as a resident, or even though it's temporary.
Really? Okay. Yeah. So now I do understand that you can't vote.
You cannot vote. Yeah,
okay.
Residents cannot vote in Mexico. You have to become a Mexican citizen.
Oh, okay. And actually, if you did become a Mexican citizen, you could vote?
Yes, you can get a voting card.
Wow. Okay. All right. Look at you. All right. So you can open up a business if you have a temporary residency. If you don't have a temporary residency, can you still open a business?
No, you need it. You really need it to become a resident first, because you have to apply for a tax number, or we call it in Mexico RFC, Revenue Mexico, or IRS in the U.S. Mm-hmm. You will have to register yourself in the business under the tax system.
Okay, and then you can only get
you
that.
must be a resident.
Right.
Temporary or resident.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what are the steps you need to take to get that temporary residency?
No, now they changed the immigration laws. Canadians and Americans, they have to go back to Canada or those states and to go to a Mexican consulate and apply for temporary or resident visa there.
Okay, so you can't do it here, you got to do it there.
It's correct, not anymore. Used to be, Canadians and Americans used to get the visas here, not anymore.
Okay, so if you are planning on coming to Mexico, let's say you're planning on coming to Puerto Vallarta, and you're going to be staying, let's say you're a Canadian, you're going to be staying 6 months or longer than that 6 months, and you want to get that temporary residency going, you can't start that here. You got to start it there.
It's correct. You have to start at your nearest Mexican consulate in your country.
Oh, okay. All right. So what are those steps that you need to take then?
You know what, my suggestion is always call the Mexican consulate and ask what they need you to bring for the interview, because they are changing the laws often. I mean, the regulations of the fees and requirements like that. Mm-hmm. So my suggestion is always call them up, make an appointment, make sure that you get all the information you need for the interview, so
right.
you don't have any inconveniences.
Right, because you don't want to have to go back and forth to that consulate, especially
it is
if it's
correct.
far away.
It is correct. If you live far away, believe me, it could be a pain.
Yeah. Well, I live in Los Angeles. It's easy for me to find the Mexican consulate, but I imagine there are places where it ain't so easy.
Yes.
All right. So when you say bring the paperwork and start that. Do you have any idea the kind of things that they want from you? What exactly do they require of you? You just can't come tripping in here, right? There are requirements.
Yeah, there are requirements, but the most important here to qualify for temporary or permanent residency is money. You have to prove investments, income, right? Like, for instance, you're going to become a permanent residency and you're from the U.S., you have to prove that you have $80,000 in investments for the last 12 months.
Okay, so you're talking about in other words, an income, yes?
Or proof of investments, yeah.
Okay.
You have the investment. Or 6 months with payments or salaries of proving that you make more than $2,500 US.
Okay, so you need to show that you got some income.
It's correct.
You can't just come walking in here and say, I want to become a
you will not
temporary
qualify.
resident.
No, they will decline your visa.
Okay, do they require you have a certain amount of money in the bank?
As I said, you have to prove this income,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like $85,000 in investments,
Yes.
or for the last 12 months, or to prove for the last 6 months that you have made every month $2,500.
Got it. Okay.
Pension or income from your job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so a retiree who is coming here and they are living on a Social Security check and maybe something else, they just got to show that that's what they get monthly.
It is correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
well that's pretty fair. So now that's just for temporary residency.
This is for permanent residency.
Oh, it is permanent. Okay,
Yes.
so what's the temporary?
For temporary, you have to prove for the last 12 months that you have investment for $25,000,
Okay.
which is less.
Okay, that is less.
Less than half.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, or to prove that you have you have more than $1,500 a month for the last 6 months.
Okay, so the requirement for the temporary is less.
Less is correct.
So you don't have to show you made as much money, and you don't have to show that you have invested. Now, when you say make an investment, you're talking about investing in Mexico?
No, in the States.
In the States.
Investments in the States.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you have property in Mexico that worth $160,000,
Mm-hmm.
then you qualify for the temporary residency.
You do? Okay.
Yeah,
So
you
if
do.
you were to come and actually buy a piece of property down here, that's really when you can get things rolling.
It's correct. Yeah, you have property in Mexico, chances to qualify for residency are higher.
Okay, and tell us again, what are the benefits of having residency and owning property?
Well, first of all, like for instance, a lot of Canadians and Americans coming to Mexico, they want to explore the country, they don't know what is going on, they want to bring their cars from their country.
Mm-hmm.
So as a temporary resident, they can have the foreign cars in Mexico for 4 years.
Okay.
And they have to renew their temporary resident card every year. They can renew it they can apply for the first year, and then after 1 year, they can apply for another 3 years.
Okay.
They can extend it for another 3 years.
Okay. So when you're talking about re-upping, then they have to just keep on showing proof that they're still making that money and that they've got that income coming in and all that stuff.
No,
Yeah.
no, not anymore.
Oh, they don't?
Once you are granted with a temporary visa,
Yeah.
that's how it is. You prove already that you have the investments and the income. So when you come to Mexico, you do it here. They will give you at the airport an FMM form for 3 days. You apply for it for your immigration card. You pay your fees. You don't have to prove income anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it's just a one-time shot on the
It's
income
correct
proof.
for a 4 year.
All right. But don't run out of money, guys. Okay. Even though you don't have to show them, don't run out of money. Not good. All right. So let's go that next step then. We're talking about we've got permanent residency. And then are there people that actually want to become Mexican citizens?
It is correct. No, to become a Mexican citizen, the requirements, the main one is that you have to be in Mexico for 5 years.
Okay. Now that's
but residency. The U.S. want to apply for citizenship through residency. You have to be in Mexico for 5 years with your permanent residency or temporary residency, and to prove that you have been personally in Mexico for the 180 days before applying for citizenship.
okay. So you can go in and out in the period of 5 years. It's just that last 180 days, that last 6 months.
In the
you
last
need
2
to-
years.
During the last 2 years of that 5 years,
Is correct.
you have to show that you've been there for the entire time, for 6 months.
Yes.
Okay. Now, as far as costs go on these, I guess they all kind of change a little bit. You really need to maybe just check with the consulate, or But like the costs for applications and things like that, or are there certain fees, things like that?
The fees for citizenship are very, very low, but the Mexican government, they change the fees every year.
Yeah.
So that varies. It will change.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you just check with the
Yes.
consulates when you're going there.
And when you apply for Mexican citizenship, you must be able to pass the interview in Spanish.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
That's
All right.
interesting. So you have to learn
You got to
Spanish.
learn the language.
And you have to as well pass a written exam with multiple options of history of Mexico.
Okay. All right. Well,
Yeah.
cool. That's similar. The test that they take in the States too,
Mm-hmm.
where they test you on the Constitution and who was the first president and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Similar
Yeah. All right.
questions.
Well, that's interesting. All right. So, if you were to, are you allowed to have dual citizenship? If you were to get Mexican citizenship and you are from the States, can you hold dual citizenship?
Yes. We also recently had a meeting with external officials in Tepic, and yes, they don't have a problem you having two citizenships.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Interesting. All right. Now, have we forgotten something? Is there a step along the way that maybe we've forgotten here? Or?
You know, for temporary residents who bring their cars into Mexico, then we'll make sure that when they come here, they have 30 days to submit the paperwork to get the immigration card. Make sure that you take your car papers to the custom office at the airport.
Okay.
You have to let them know that you just got your temporary residency is in progress.
Mm-hmm.
You have to show that to them. So the whole point of this is that when you go back, when you take the car back to the States, you will get your money deposit back.
Yes. Right.
Yes.
Right. Because what is that? Do you know how much that is?
It depends, $450.
Something
It
like
depends on the year of the car.
Right.
Yeah.
So you guys be careful when you're coming into Mexico. If you go further than, I think it's like 50 miles or something like that into Mexico with your
25
car.
kilometers.
Yeah, then you, I guess you'd be illegal, right?
Again, as a temporary residency, your car, if the car is in Mexico under your name, the car will be legal
Okay.
for a 4-year period.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Got it.
Yeah. But I said, if you don't register a car with the local custom authorities here, you will lose the money deposit that you paid at
That you
Pan
paid at-
Ejército Bank at the border.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. So if you want to get your money back.
Only if you want your money back. But the car will be legal as long as your temporary residency is current, valid,
Okay.
and legal.
All right. So they'll keep your money, but you'll still be legal. It'll be
Yes.
okay there. Okay, cool.
4
All right.
years.
For 4 years. All right. What other thing have I forgotten here?
Let me say this. Permanent residents, once you become a permanent resident, you cannot no longer have your foreign car in Mexico.
Okay.
Now it's a different legal figure. You have the option to take your car back to the States or Canada, or give it to the Revenue Mexico, IRS Mexico, donate it to the Mexican authority.
Interesting.
You cannot sell it here. You have to take it out of Mexico.
So you just got 4 years with your car, and then you kiss it goodbye, sell it up north or whatever it is you're going to do, or give it to the authorities and let them do whatever they're going to do, and then buy yourself a vehicle here in Mexico. Okay, all right. Well, that's very interesting. Now, why is that? Is there a reason for that?
I think it makes sense what the Mexican government is doing. If you're a permanent resident of Mexico, why having a foreign car? You have to buy a car that is made, if not made in Mexico, is sold in Mexico.
Right, yeah.
So I believe could be tax-related
I think-
issue to this.
Yeah.
But that's how it is. That's the policy and that's the law, and we have to follow it.
Anything else you can think of that we missed?
I believe pretty much is the most important things that any visitor to Mexico should know, and what to do and what not to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though if you're in Mexico as a tourist and for whatever reason you could not leave the country, there is a program that immigration has implemented to help foreigners under these situations.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yes.
So if someone has overstayed their tourist visa,
It's correct, the tourist visa.
and so what kind of a deal is that? Is that
Well, no, you have to talk to the immigration officials in this case in Puerto Vallarta, and they will give you all the requirements how to fix and regularize your staying in Mexico. Yeah,
Okay.
so you can be legal.
so you don't have to feel like a bandito the whole time
No,
you're staying
not
here.
at all.
You don't have to feel
No,
like you're an
no.
illegal. You can go after 2 years. If you've been here for 2 years, overstayed it, they'll
Over
work with
the
you.
180 days, right? Make sure that you haven't left the country since. That's the main requirement.
Yeah. All right. So
Yeah.
get out after 6 months. That's the main thing to remember, though.
Exactly.
All right, Felix. While I've got you here, can you maybe tell everybody how they can get a hold of you and let us know a little bit about your law practice?
I am from Tepic originally, 100 miles north from Puerto Vallarta, 350,000 city, Tepic.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big university, so I attended the law school in Tepic. And I got my degree in 1988, a few years ago. So I have been practicing law in the Puerto Vallarta and Banderas Bay area for more than 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So
If anybody wants to get a hold of me, you can find me on my website, www.felixzaratelawyer.com. You can
Excellent.
find all my information there.
yeah, and he's got a smiling face right there on his website. So definitely check him out if you need any legal help, any legal advice. Felix is my go-to guy here in Puerto Vallarta. And I just can't thank you enough for coming by and for inviting me to your place and let me talk with you today and share this information with all of my listeners. All right, that's some great information. I love Felix. He really knows the law in Mexico. Like he said, he's been doing it for a long time, and he's a good guy. So let's just quickly review what we've learned. I want to expand a little bit on what Felix told us with some information that I got from the Mexican consulate locally here in Los Angeles. And I'm going to address both Canadians and Americans here. So I'm going to also have links to all the information that I have and that I'm going to give you. This isn't everything, but it's just kind of a touch on base as what to expect and what you need to do. And as I said, you'll find them in my show notes at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. So let's say that you're a U.S. citizen. You're going to be living in Mexico and working in the United States. Let's say you have some sort of an internet kind of a business. And you're going to be receiving your income from a company in the United States. Now, you must apply first for a visa as a temporary resident. And so you're going to need to download an application for a Mexican visa, and I have a link to that and a PDF also available in my show notes as well. And as I said, if you're going to be living in Mexico and working, you're going to need you need a passport. You're going to need the original passport, of course, and a copy from the first and last pages in which you've had visas or stamps stamped into your passport. If you are not a U.S. citizen, you must present a U.S. alien permanent resident card or your green card or a valid visa from either Canada, the United States, Japan, the United Kingdom, wherever. You're going to need one passport-sized picture, front view, white background without glasses. You're going to need an original letter typed and addressed to the Consulate General of Mexico specifying the purpose of your entry in Mexico. The letter should include your request to have a temporary resident visa, your date of travel, your port of entry, the address in the United States and or in Mexico. They want proof of your employment in that U.S. company. with original letterhead, a typed sheet from the U.S. company, and then all of these must be addressed to the Consulate General of Mexico in Los Angeles or San Diego or wherever you are. Those letters need to be addressed to them. It must have the applicant's full name and nationality, the activity, the length of time that they're going to be working there, monthly income perceived by the applicant. They want to specify the commitment of shared responsibility with the applicant, registration number of the business, etc. It's a long, long list. So if you are going to be going there and working, that's not most of you. Most of you guys are going to be going there and retiring. So let's talk a little bit about that. But if you are going to be going there working, there are other things that they need. So go to my website, check it out. I have the link that'll take you there and give you that info. Let's move on to if you are retired and you're going to live temporarily without any income in Mexico, what are you going to do? So to do that, you are going to apply for a visa as a temporary resident. And what they want there, again, is that application, once again, and I have a link to that. They want a valid passport with the original copy, and they want a copy of the first and last pages in which you have your visas or stamps, once again. If you are not a U.S. citizen, you must present your green card once again. You need a passport-size picture, front view, with a white background without any glasses. They are going to want an original letter typed, addressed to the Consulate General of Mexico, specifying the purpose of your entry into Mexico. The letter should indicate your request to have temporary resident visa, date of travel, port of entry, and address in Mexico. They want documents proving your economic solvency. Last six bank statements are necessary. The complete bank statement month by month, not just one page, they want the whole thing, which reflect direct deposit from Social Security or a monthly income with a minimum average balance of $1,200 US at the end of each month. And if you have investments, you can present the last 12 months statements, the complete statement, not just everything, but complete statement month by month of the financial institution showing $20,000 as an average balance at the end of the month in that account. And then if you have dependents, they want other things too. So you want to look at the notes in my show notes of the episode to find out what you do in case you're going to be bringing your kids. Okay, now let's just say that you want to get a permanent residence. Let's just say that you don't want the temporal, you want the permanente. So if you're retired, and let's say you're going to be living permanently without any income in Mexico, you're going to need to apply for a visa as a permanent resident. Once again, you're going to need the application for the Mexican visa. You're going to need a valid passport. Once again, you need a copy of the first and last pages in which you have your stamps. And if you're not that U.S. citizen, you're going to need a green card, as I said before. You need a passport-size picture, front view, white background with no glasses. They want an original letter typed and addressed to the Consulate General of Mexico, specifying the purpose of your entry in Mexico. The letter should include your request to have permanent resident visa, the date of travel, the port of entry, and address in Mexico. They want documents proving that you are economically solvent. So they want your last 6 bank statements, the complete statement month by month, which reflect the direct deposit from Social Security or a monthly income with a minimum average balance of $2,000 at the end of each month. And if you have investments, you can present the last 12-month statements with the complete statement, once again, month by month, of the financial institution showing you got more than you did if you want to be temporary, showing that you've got $80,000 as an average balance at the end of the month in those accounts. And if you have an economic dependent that you want to bring along, once again, go to my show notes and read on. I also have information regarding student visas and what you're going to need to do if you're coming to Mexico and staying longer than 6 months as a student. And let's just quickly talk a little bit about what is required if you are coming from Canada. So really quickly, if you are coming from Canada, they are going to want a visa application form. This is for temporary residents, a temporary resident visa in Canada, from Canada, I should say, to Mexico. They want that form. They want a passport or valid travel and identity document, original and a photocopy of the page containing the photograph and personal data. They want an original and a photocopy of the migratory document proving your legal migratory status in Canada if you are not a Canadian citizen. They want one photograph measuring 3.9 centimeters by 3.1 centimeters, face uncovered, no eyeglasses, frontal view in color with a white background, and then they want payment of fees in cash for the issuance of the visa. In addition, the following documents must be presented depending on the category that you're applying for. They want to show economic solvency, so original and a photocopy of investment receipts or bank statements showing an average monthly balance of 27,654 Canadian dollars during the past 12 months, or an original and a photocopy of documents showing that the applicant has employment or a pension with a monthly tax-free income of over 1,569 Canadian dollarettes during the last 6 months. So also, if you are looking to, I have all the information regarding if you are going to be there with children and all that other stuff in the show notes. I just don't want to shrift you Canadians there. If you want to be a permanent resident and you want to apply for a permanent resident visa, you need to go to your nearest consular office, Mexican consular office near you. They want you to have that form, that application form, completed and signed, the passport or travel or valid travel and identity document, original and a photocopy of the page containing the photograph and your personal data, original and a photocopy of the migratory document accrediting your legal stay in Canada if you are not a Canadian citizen. They want one photocopy measuring 3.9 centimeters by 3.1 centimeters, face uncovered, no eyeglasses please, with a frontal view in color and with a white background. They want you to pay with cash. Applicants must also present the following documents depending on the category on which they are applying for. So if you are a retiree and a pensioner, they want a photocopy of investment receipts or bank account statements showing an average monthly balance equivalent to 110,615 Canadian dollarettes during the last 12 months, or original and a photocopy of proof of tax-free monthly income from pensions in the amount greater than 2,765 Canadian dollars during the last 6 months. So there you have it. Those are the things that they need from you Canadians if you are thinking about coming on down and retiring in paradise. And now, there's one other thing that I want to talk to you about, and that was amnesty in Mexico. This is what Felix was talking about. Here's the rules. At present, it applies to foreigners who entered Mexico before January of 2015 who have not left since that date, and on January 2017, they find themselves living in the country with an irregular immigration status. In other words, they're living in Mexico illegally, right? So the fee for regularization is 1,187 pesos And that's paid for the review, and the additional fee is based on the period for which one is approved for either 1 to 4 years. Anyway, I have information about all those, about everything that you've got to do if you are one of these foreigners who is living illegally in Mexico, in Paradise. Just a quick little reminder what you're going to need. They're going to want an immigration request form requesting your desire to participate in the program, explaining how you became illegal in Mexico. They're going to want a passport from you illegal you. They're going to want an immigration document if you had one ever. And then one of the following documents that proves that you have been living in Mexico since prior to January 9th, 2015. They're going to want to see your airline ticket, your passport with an entry stamp. They're going to want to see either, this is just one of the following. Okay, you don't have to have them all, but if you got here illegally, one of these things you should have. An immigration document in case the person was regular in Mexico. Let's see here. Utility bills. If you've got light, water, power, phone bill, internet, TV, gas, any of those, you can show that you were here prior to January 9th, 2015. That'll work. A medical file, school records, any other document issued by a public agency that shows that you resided in Mexico, a declaration signed by two people who know you and state that they've lived in the country, that you've lived in the country for that time. There's a lot of things, so I'm sure that you should be able to come up with one of those. The documents that could be in the name of the person or their children or whatever. I mean, the list goes on and on. And so we talk about the procedure that the person needs to do. They need to present the documents at at immigration, as mentioned, and then prior to their hearing. And the future date shall not be more than 10 business days after the papers are turned in, so that's good. They're going to make a written record of the hearing and then go over all the paperwork that's presented. And then immigration has 30 days to give a response to you illegal person. If the response is positive, then they'll issue a temporary resident document good for 1 to 4 years. And then once the person has the document, they can request work permission as well as documents for family members. And for the issuance of the document, the person will need the original positive resolution and a copy of that, 2 copies of the format básico, 3 photos, and payment of fees. So anyway, that's what you got to do if you're an illegal and you're living in Paradise. And just because you do all that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to let you stay, but because there's a whole list of things that they don't like, and those are all in the show notes for this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show, so check them out. Wow, that was an exhaustive review of what you want to do if you are going to reside in Paradise for longer than the 6 months allowed on that first visitor visa that you use, that FMM card that you use when you fly or drive into Puerto Vallarta, into Mexico, into Paradise. Well, that should do it for this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. Next week, stay tuned for more on-the-ground reports from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, with travel tips, great restaurant and excursion ideas, and more. And until then, remember that this is an interactive show where I depend on your questions and suggestions about all things Puerto Vallarta. If you happen to think of something that I should be talking about, reach out to us like Skip did by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending us your message. And remember, if you're considering booking any type of tour while you're in Puerto Vallarta, you must go to vallartainfo.com. That's JR's website. and reserve your tour right through him, right from his website. Remember, this is a value-for-value proposition, my friends. JR's experience and his on-the-ground knowledge of everything Puerto Vallarta in exchange for your making a purchase of a tour that you would do anyway. You're just doing it through JR as a way of saying thank you. Thanks for being our guide. It costs no more than if you were going to be using someone else to do it. So really, just do it. JR told me he's been getting a lot of groups that have been calling. He also tells me that there have been instances when people have waited a little bit too long to reserve. Remember that this is high season, so make those reservations for your tours just a little bit ahead of time, more ahead of time than you would normally do, okay? Anyway, remember also that this is an interactive show where we talk about everything Puerto Vallarta. If you want to tell me a little bit about what you have done in paradise, feel free to click on the Contact Me tab and send me a message. Once again, if you like this podcast, take the time and subscribe and give me a good review on iTunes if you would. That way we can get the word out to more and more people about the magic of this place, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. So, once again, thank you. Thanks very much to you, Felix Zarate, for coming on board. Thank you, Edgar Cisneros, for telling us all about the Craft Beer Festival. Make sure you check that out this week. And thanks to all of you for listening all the way through this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. This is Barry Kessler signing off with a wish for all of you to slow down, be kind, and live the Vallarta lifestyle. Nos vemos, amigos.
Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de amor junto al mar. Solo camino eterno por la playa, me encuentro junto al río cuando todo está en calma. De pronto cae la noche, me brillas Puerto Vallarta, samba de Puerto